Good morning, everybody. I'm running a little bit behind. Let me get the link posted over on our website. Website is denverguitarorchestra.com. And if you are watching the replay of this, all of the sheet music is there for you to pick up for today's lesson. As soon as I get over onto the page, I will tell you what we're actually playing today because I don't remember. But I think we are going to play. Here's the list. We're playing Row, Row, Row Your Boat Again. That's our new member song of the week. Best song in book one, period. One of the great one-chord songs of all time. And teaches you basically every single thing you need to know about playing fingerstyle guitar, almost. And so that is that. We're also playing Skip to My Loo, which is kind of a dumb song. And then Last Rose of Summer, which is a great song from a great Scottish song, very not sad necessarily, just a really beautiful song. So hopefully you'll come join us and hang in till the end of the. Well, we go for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and hopefully you'll come in and play that with us. Let me go post this on Twitter. https:// denverguitarorchestra.com. Sometimes my faces started popping up again, which is very exciting. And then I've been adding in our logo. I want people to think, tweet that it's part of a thing. And it looks pretty that way. I added a little skull face to my name. I figured out how you put little emojis next to your name on Twitter. And so now I put a little skull face next to mine. I have 3 notifications. Oh, we have all sorts of exciting things going on Twitter. All right, so let me close out that box, and everybody will be wandering in here in just a moment. Let's see, what is today? It's 10:05, so people are going to get in here any minute. They're probably getting sick of me running late. It's sort of what I do. Or they heard we're playing Skip to My Loo, and they're like, I'm not subjecting myself to that. Let me run. I am realizing that I took the sheet music into the other room to make some changes. We've been playing this music long enough now that we are starting to have a lot of, just various typos. Julia said the fob is locked in. And we're not. Okay. Hold on. No, I don't have time to deal with this. Add. Sorry, guys. This stuff. Chris. Yeah. Okay. Adding Chris Ann onto this text stream period. Chris Ann, is there a way you can get that lockbox open? Question mark. Never, you go through this stuff and it never. You think, okay, I got everything set for the next. Everybody will be okay for 1 hour, and it never works out that way. Chris Ann, this is Art's cell phone, period. Still struggling with getting the lockbox and the fob straight today, period. And her name is Chris Ann, and it always types Christian. Chris Ann, this is Art's cell phone, still struggling with getting lockbox. In the box. Do I speak clear and not clearly? It's what I do for a living is speak box straight today, period. Sorry, guys. Hi, Nancy. I'm here. Gary says sound is good. That's exciting. Evelyn, sound is good. 68 degrees in Cuenca. Beautiful day. I have to run grab on the sheet music. So I'm going to type in the chat box, grabbing sheet music, period. be right back! Exclamation point. And I don't have all the songs memorized, so I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. Also forgot to drink my coffee, which is sitting out there, probably cold as stone now. Blech. All right. You're warming up on Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And let's see, we lost a couple of people on my because of my little antics here. Here's what we know. If you show up every day and you tolerate Gary, you will become a fine guitar player. If you can't do that, then you might still become a fine guitar player, but who knows? Okay. Whew. Everything's in order now. So today we're playing Row, Row, Row Your Boat, Skip to My Loo, and Last Rose of Summer. Remember on Thursday night, tomorrow night, we have our level 4 class. Starts at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Yesterday, Blackbird, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Here Comes the Sun, and our non-tab super secret song. I call them the DGO Mysteries is what I've decided to call them. And then, of course, on Friday, we're playing everything. So obviously, any the songs on the list from the Denver Guitar Orchestra are stuff you want to be working on this week and getting it as good as you can. We change the songs out week by week, not for really smart reasons, but I like for you to be able to go through the book a couple of times before you decide, yep, I have everything out of the book that I need and I'm ready to move on to the next level. Or even if you are next level, give you a chance to revisit a lot of the skills that sometimes we just thinks I'm playing the other string. If I will pluck the same string as I'm trying to tune, it will help. There we go. That's what I like to hear. All right. I do think going back through but lower level books as you progress as a musician is never a bad idea, in the sense that you revisit the skills that the first time you went through them, you're like, okay, I think I got it. And then the second time you go through it, you're like, I didn't have it at all before. And the third time you go through it, you're like, well, isn't this fascinating? And the fourth time you go through it, you're like, I could teach this to somebody. And that's the goal, of course. Row, row, row your boat. Grab your D chords. Index, middle ring. 1, 2. Or I'm sorry, 2 beat count in. 1, 2. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat right across the lake. Don't stand up and rock the boat, oh, that's a big mistake. Shred, shred, shred your axe, rock like you're a star. E-A-D-G-B-E, don't you dare mess with me, master of guitar. I'm going to redo that arpeggio. So the arpeggio should be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. E-A-D-G-B-E, don't you dare mess with me, master of guitar. Okay, so there's your D chord. There's me singing, never a good thing. Next up, good morning, Pauline. Good morning, Elizabeth. I was late too. All right, so there's row, row, row boat. Let's do it one note at a time. Again, grab your D chord. Grab your D chord. This is where chord melody comes from. It's where fingerstyle comes from. It's how classical music is built. We start with building around chord shapes because that's going to make the music sound like it makes sense. And then we modify the chord depending on where the melody's at. So play your guitar melody, but mostly hold your D chord. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 0, 2, 2, 0, 2, 3, 5, 2, 2, 3, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5, 3, 2, 0, 3. And do it one more time. Go. Okay, lovely. And once you're doing that, you are playing fingerstyle guitar. The only thing that fingerstyle actually adds is arpeggio notes in between the longer notes, and that's where tough X comes into play. When there's big long note, like in measure 4, we'll add in a couple of doodly doos just to make it sound pretty. And let's see how we do on this one. Okay, so book 2 and book 3 people, book 4 people, book 99 people for some of you. Let's play the tough X line. To the top. And it's fascinating, honestly. You only have a one chord song. You have a melody that basically almost everybody knows that melody. The Everybody grows up with different words. Like my don't stand up and rock the boat. I tried to force the words in there. They don't work, and so I'm gonna have to rewrite those words in there. But you can rewrite the words. It doesn't have to be about rowing a boat. It could be about anything, really. And what's happening here with just this one chord, but there's also a second chord right here, the same chord, just in a different location. You end up with a full chord melody arrangement with just one tune. Every single thing that I'm doing here, you're going to have to be doing for the rest of your time playing guitar. And so this is a great piece of music to get you to that real high level. And then it's just a matter of putting in the time and getting better at it. So don't neglect your study, row your boat. Change the words if you need to. Whatever works for you, that's what we want. All right, next up, my least favorite, probably my least favorite song in book 2, Skip to My Loo. And Skip to My Loo is not a good song, but it is a really, really, really important concept here when we're going to do F and C7. And so let's talk about this for just a moment. Most people who end up quitting guitar, probably, there's two things that happen. One, they're taught how to use chords and sing, right? Row, row, row your boat, and then they don't get taught anything else, and so they want to play whatever song from their childhood that they like, depending on what age bracket you're in, either a Beatles song or a Paul Simon song or a Neil Diamond song or a Queen song or a Eric Clapton song or a Cyndi Lauper song. They want to learn that song, right? And they sing that, and then after they've done it about 500 times, they're like, well, that's kind of boring and it's not as much fun and it never quite sounds like Cyndi Lauper, right? And so that's one reason people quit, is they don't get melodic and fingerstyle training. And so after a while it gets kind of, especially if you're a crummy singer, that really gets you out of the guitar business pretty fast. The other thing that gets you out of guitar business is bar chords. And so we're going to deal with our first bar chord, and we're going to agree. We're going to agree you are not going to quit because bar chords are hard. Bar chords are hard. It is something every guitarist has to deal with. And particularly with this style of play, where we're going to spend a lot of time down here, but we're also going to spend a lot of time all over this fretboard. And in order to do that, you're going to have to do bar chords. So one, a lot of people ask, hey, can I just use a capo? Yeah, you could if you're a singer. But if you're an instrumentalist, you can't, because you're going to be doing stuff all over the fretboard. That capo just gets in your way. There will come a point where theoretically you might use a capo when you're a more advanced player because you want it to be in a certain key so it matches the recording. But I always think, why would you do that? You're not the recording. Be you. And so there's not really any compelling reasons to use a capo unless you're a singer and you're going to use this as a backup. And then in which case you're not listening to this broadcast anyway. As finger style players and as melodic players, as classical guitar players, as jazz people, we got to play chords up the neck. And the way we start that is with using a bar on all these. So take your bar, put it over all six, and you'll probably pick, it doesn't matter which fret, just pick a fret. It'll likely end up sounding like this. Okay? Because you don't quite have the hand strength built in yet. I don't know if you can see it, but I have this little bump here. That's a muscle that comes from playing fretted instruments. Okay, and you may not have that yet. The muscle required to do this is your thumb. Okay, and it's mostly sits in the three muscles that run your thumb are sitting kind of in your palm and back behind the thumb, and so that's going to take a little while to build the hand strength to get it to come out really pretty like that. And I'm keeping my other fingers out of the way just to show you. Normally they're just hanging out up here doing whatever they need to do. Okay? And that's what you're after. One of the tools that I use in ukulele is we do a make a better bar worksheet. And it wouldn't do you it wouldn't hurt you at all to just take pick any four strings, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just move your bar up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again. And don't let your thumb lag behind. It really does still stay basically right behind the middle finger. And then up to 12. And then when you come back, just change your pattern, ring, middle, index, thumb. And starting on 12, just using 4 strings. I mean, ultimately you want to do some exercises where you're using the upper strings as well. Right, and so on. You're working obviously getting those notes clean and pretty, but more importantly, you're working on building up a few calluses along your bar, and you're also working at building up the hand strength here. Bar chords, it turns out, is going to be what allows you to play advanced music. You will be able to play lots of folk music and lots of stuff that's kind of old-fashioned and kind of fun and beautiful with open chords, and it's the stuff I like to do as much as possible. I really like these open chords. They're beautiful, right? But the stuff, what's going to allow you to get to more complicated and interesting melodies is being able to move up the fretboard. So let's talk about what you're really going to do. Put your E chord on to get started with. Okay, and we normally do that index, middle, ring. Okay, we learned that on day 1. Beautiful chord, makes your guitar sound amazing. Now let's take that same exact shape but use different fingers. So instead of your index, middle, and ring, let's use your middle, ring, and pinky. Okay, and already you're like, I don't like this. Okay. And if you were an electric guitar player, this is exactly where we'd start. We would say, all right, we're going to do an E chord. That's how we do it with these fingers. And then we're going to move it up one fret, move everybody up one fret, and then we're going to take this bar and add it on. And here's what sound you're likely to get out of your guitar. Okay, and that's okay. That's what's going to happen in the beginning. Let yourself say to yourself, I'm not going to quit because of that. Okay, I'm going to stick with guitar until I can squeeze hard enough to get all 6 of these strings down and get that. That's not going to happen today. It's probably not going to happen tomorrow. It will happen. What I have since learned is that if you're holding your guitar properly, you don't even need to use your thumb. Okay, now I'm pushing pretty hard on the guitar body itself, but we tend to blame our thumb strength for having bad chords. And it's often a posture position. If your guitar is way down here and you don't use your thumb, that's probably not going to happen, right? But if you're properly positioned and you put a little bit of squeezing on the guitar itself, your thumb doesn't even need to be there. Okay, but we do want you to build your thumb strength, obviously, because it's way easier to do it that way. And again, be thinking about posture. Okay, got my bar on here. It's pretty close up to the bar. I've got my E shape in front of that. Okay, and my thumb properly positioned, not way up here. It's going to make it harder. Okay, and then it's basically hanging out behind wherever my middle finger is. That's where my thumb is hanging out. So hopefully you can see that. That's basically what's going on back there. Making sure my fingers are round as possible. Everybody's fingers are a little bit different. I spent a lot of time with musicians talking about their pinky fingers and ring fingers, and they got weird. You know, they broke them when they were 7 chasing the dog, and so we're strategizing around what's the best solution for your hands in particular. But generally speaking, you want these nice and round, like that. The bar is going to be generally straight now, and you're going to get that F chord. Okay. My pinky still locks up when I reach past the 3rd string. And Nancy and I have probably the same exact situation. I'm getting a little arthritis in here. It is not uncommon when I need to make a chord and that pinky is locked up, and I just have to be patient. Clonk, it finally comes down. If you are 20 years old and you are going to be a classical guitarist, that's probably not a good thing. If you're anybody else, it's just a thing, right? It's just something that you have in your hands. Take you a little bit longer to get certain chords on. And I think particularly if we do have that situation, there's 2 things. One, doing it on a regular basis is probably going to make it better, probably, right? If you're taking it off and putting it back on, you're just training your pinky to do a weird thing, and hopefully it's going to get a little better. Hopefully, probably will. The other thing is, it's not a bad idea if it's just like locking up solid. You might go check with an orthopedic doctor and say, hey, I'm a guitarist, starting to have probably a little arthritis in here. Is there anything we can do about that? I have not had any students come back and say, oh yeah, my doctor had this perfect solution for my problem. Usually it's like, nope, you got some arthritis in there. It's going to be a problem. So you may or may not want that information. But if you broke, sometimes we don't even remember breaking a pinky, or really damaging it or tweaking it when we're little kids, and it's just something that happened. It doesn't show up until you're playing guitar. I would say I've worked with enough people now that have some pretty major issues with their hands. And you find your workarounds. If you realize, you know what, F chord's not going to be my thing right now, don't play songs with F in it. It's a huge problem in that lots of good songs have Fs in them. But we'll also talk about ways to simplify your F chord, of course, by getting rid of some of the strings. And you can do that. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't want to get there quite yet. I don't want to talk about simplifying quite yet, because I really want you to work on full bars. Okay. Now, if you're 8 to 10 years old and you're taking electric guitar lessons, this is what we need to teach you. This, because then we take this exact shape, don't change anything about it, but slide it up to 6. Okay. And by the way, bar chords are easier to do in the middle of the fretboard than they are back here, because things are closer. You got more strength available to you. And the strings, while the strings are farther away from the fretboard, they're actually much easier to press down here in the middle of the fretboard. Okay. Then take this exact thing and move it up to 8. Move it back to 6. And then back to 1. Now, if you're a little boy with electric guitar, I plug you into a fuzz pedal. We turn you up just a little bit, and you get wom ba-dum ba-dum wom ba-dum ba-dum wom ba-dum ba-dum wom ba-dum wom wom wom. Right, so you're playing electric guitar on it with a fuzz pedal. You're happy as a clam. I don't need to give you any other lesson until you're 16 or 17. That will be 10 years worth of fun for little boys to play electric guitar like that. And it is a tool we'll use because this shape here starts off as an E, right? When we move it up 1, it becomes an F. When we move it up 2, it becomes a G. And when we move it up to 5, it becomes an A. And once you know that, you can play sort of a cheater version of flamenco guitar. You don't want it to be perfect and clean and pretty. You want it to be a little messy, right? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's why I like guitar. That's why I should take flamenco lessons. Flamenco, obviously, much more complicated than that, but at least get a sort of an idea of how you can get a very Spanish, very exciting sound out of this with just using that one chord. So now take a little breath. We don't like F chord, okay? You're going to like C7 even less, I think. So C7, put your C chord on. Hit the top string. Don't want to do that if I don't have to, because it's a 5-string chord. Okay. And really, the best if it's a 4-string chord, because then you have a C on top and a C on the 2nd string. You get a perfectly balanced chord, C. And to get to C7, you have to take your pinky and put it on the 3rd fret, 3rd string. Okay. And now listen to the difference. Here's C. C7. C7 sounds a little more urgent, a little bit more chaotic, a little less stable. Dum 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 ba dum ba dum. What 7th chords do is they want to become something else. They're like teenagers, right? They're lovely in the way they are. They're a little rough around the edges, and they're about to blossom into something beautiful and perfect. And so this sound, this C7 sound, is really trying to become an F. Hear the resolution in there. You can also do some flexibility exercise for guitarists that help with dexterity. There are a number of books out there, and I think the one a lot of people are using is called Aerobics for Guitar or something like that. You can check it out on Amazon, but there's several books out there where you're just working on this kind of stuff. That's exactly what Arlo's talking about. Doing those types of exercises. I don't do those because I find them very, very boring. I'd rather develop my dexterity through playing songs, but that is not at all necessarily good advice. I do think particularly if you're struggling with one particular part of your program, Find some technical exercises to practice that, like we do with scales, right? With guitar, you think about that's pretty complex, that right there. And then if you're adding in or all of those things can help you improve your technique. You have to decide how much of that you want to do. I notice the guys that seem to be really, really serious about this instrument do a lot of those, and the rest of us are just playing songs, right? And so, but I do think it's not unimportant to talk about, hey, my pinky's being a pain in the butt. Maybe find a book with some fingering exercises, and I for sure will give you some exercises to go through to help strengthen your pinky. I think every single technique book includes pinky exercise strengthening activities. Now, so we had the C chord with your pinky. That makes it a C7. Seventh chords are designed to feel dramatic so that they can resolve to the main idea. That's how we do storytelling in music. Fly in the buttermilk shoe, fly in the buttermilk. Oh, I'm on the wrong chord. Fly in the buttermilk shoe, fly in the buttermilk shoe, fly shoe. And then you put on this C7, fly in the buttermilk shoe, fly shoe. Fly in the buttermilk. Okay, so it creates a tension, creates this moment where you're like, oh my gosh, resolve. And that's what seventh chords do. And this one, I honestly fight C chord a little bit on a regular basis, and then to add my pinky there makes the whole thing kind of a frustration. All right, talking about a couple of simplifications. On C7, if you didn't have this finger here, you could put that over there. And then you don't use this fifth string at all. So now you're just down on the bottom four strings. I don't necessarily know if that simplification is any easier or not, though. I do think probably C chord and just learn to add your pinky on is probably the simplest solution. Okay, but you could do that. The other thing, you have got a D7 shape here on strings 5, 4, and 3. Okay, and you've got that there. You don't want to hit that string because that's a B. That's going to sound terrible, but you could just play those 3. And you'll see sometimes in tough acts, I'll end up doing that. Dum. And then it's going to lead into whatever the next thing is, because when you're doing tough acts, you don't necessarily hit all the strings anyway, right? So you might do, so that's a possible way to make C7 easier. More importantly, F chord, a lot of people simplify it. Okay, this is not easy to do. So they start figuring out, all right, what could I do to not do that? One of the things is to put this finger over 2 strings, and then your middle finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and your ring finger on the 4th string, 3rd fret, and then don't play these top strings. Okay. This string is an A string, so it won't sound terrible if you hit it. Doesn't sound great. But you can just play those bottom 4. And the other one you'll see a lot, especially in folk music from the 70s, they will just do index, middle, and ring, and they'll leave this string open, which makes it a different chord, but it's actually kind of beautiful. Right, that sound? And you'll see that because if you take that F shape and then you move these 2 guys up, now you have a C chord. And if you move these 2 guys up 2 more and just take this guy off, you get a sort of a modified G chord, and you might put your pinky down there to get the real G chord. La 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 la, and then you drop down to your C chord. La 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 la, and then you put this F chord on. La 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 la, and back to your C chord. La 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 la, and so you'll see some of that going on, especially if you watch, American Idol or those types of shows. And there's, usually a weird-looking teenage boy will get up there, and if you watch his hands, he's doing that exact program: G chord, C chord, F chord. Back to this. And so there's simplifications of there. Again, we do simplifications every single time we play with tough acts. In some places tough acts is more complicated. But so it's not. You still want to be able to do this, okay? But there's other ways that we get around this sort of thing. Not get around it, but there's other things we'll add to it. In fact, in this song here, measure 4 under tough acts, it's a full C chord or full F chord, but you're not going to play that top string or the bottom string. And so, yeah, you probably put the whole chord shape on, but you're not going to play the whole chord shape. And so, could you do 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, you could do that. So you start thinking about what's the smart thing to do on this stuff. All right, so we want to play through this a couple times. And I'll sing it the first time because this is a pretty old song. Not a lot of you around in 1820. All right, grab your F chords. Let's just see how we do. We'll give you time between each chord change to get it on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo, 2, 3, 4. You've already changed to C7 by the time I got there. Go. Fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo, fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo, 2, 3, 4. Skip to my Loo, my darling. Okay, so let's speed it up a little bit and see how you're doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo, 2, 3, 4. Fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo, 2, 3, 4. Fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo. Skip to my Loo, my darling. Okay, and so you're start off slow, but try to keep the pace steady. 1, 2, 3, 4, even slower. Fly in the. Give yourself lots of time. That's why I chose that song. I don't like that song at all, but I wanted to have a couple of chord changes in there with plenty of time to get to them. And so it works pretty well for this particular exercise, learning how to do an F chord and then switch it out for the tough one, the C7. And so the song itself is a good one to practice this. The other thing I was noticing, when you're doing an F chord, and I should have mentioned this, when you're strumming and you're ready for that sound to stop, you just have to loosen your hand up and it stops all the strings, which is really nice to have that level of control. Fly, let's try it. Fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo. So you're really in control of all of the strings and you get to decide how long they last just by loosening up your hand and stopping the sound. Fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo. And I'm not letting anything up. I'm just loosening my grip. Sound stops, which is really, really handy when you're, especially if you decide to play staccato type things. Grab your C7, fly in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo. Right, and you're in control of all of those strings that you're playing, which is kind of nice. So that's that. So that's Skip to My Loo, my darling. We're only going to study the chords on that song. The song itself, there's nothing really to it. You might take a moment just to look through the tough acts because we'll play that on Friday, of course. And what you'll find is that it's actually probably easier to play than the full chords. And that's, again, good news for those of us becoming instrumentalists is that you're going to do this, but you're not necessarily going to play all of the strings, right? You have to just play a few of them. And if you're not going to play all the strings, then you will debate with yourself, does putting the whole thing on make sense? Or does just putting part of it on make sense? And you'll see a lot of times when I'm doing a B minor you'll see the A minor shape up here on 3 instead of doing the whole entire thing, right? Because I know that, so I use that often, and I try to avoid playing in the key of C, generally speaking, for these types of things. But if I was doing a lot of Fs, you might see this E shape showing up here and just playing those 3 strings. So that's a little bit about arranging, but also about don't let F become a sadness for you. Be really fine with that sound. It gets better. It really does. It really gets better. All right, so that's Skip to My Loo. Again, the real purpose of that song is not to play Skip to My Loo. The real purpose is to get F and C7 coming along. All right, finally, we only have a time to play once or twice through. Let's go do Last Rose of Summer out of book 3. I guess it's not actually in book 3. Where did I put my copy? Dink. Storage. Download guitar. FG. Oh, there's my poor cat. He's desperate to get in here. All right, so I don't have it in my gadget for some reason. Let me pull it up on the screen here, and we'll go from that. Why isn't it in the gadget at this point? Last Rose of Summer. Book 3. There it is. Okay. Thomas More, very famous Scottish poet. Edward Bunting, not too sure who that guy is, put the music together and ended up with a song about it's the very last rose of summer, and the guy's going to pick it, and it's going to be left with all of its other dead companions. So the nice part about this song, pretty straightforward in terms of chords positioning. You got your A chord. "'Tis the last rose of D chord summer, left blooming E chord, all alone. All her," let me scroll down, "lovely companions are now faded and are gone." And then on to page 2. No, no. Whoops. What's the last verse? No flower of her kindred, no. And then you got your F sharp minor, bar chord, guys, and E minor shape in front. Rosebud is nigh to reflect back his blushes and to give a sigh for sigh. Isn't that beautiful? It's funny, when several of the songs that Bunting put music to are amazing, right? The poetry itself, Thomas More is super famous in Great Britain, but in America we barely know him at all, which is unfortunate. His poetry is pretty good, pretty solid. And then Bunting's, every now and then he wrote a whole bunch of arrangements of them, and every now and then he just really knocked it out of the park. And this is one of those tunes. Let's walk through the melody really quickly. The only thing on that one, obviously, you got to learn your F sharp minor. And it comes at a moment where you really want to do it. So just think about E minor with the wrong fingers, slide it up to 4 and add your bar on 2. Okay, that's another chord that's coming up all the time, F sharp minor. And realize it's really, if you put your middle finger down where we were talking earlier about an F chord, now you're playing an F sharp major. Okay, just take your middle finger off, and then now it's a minor. Beautiful piece, really beautiful, right? Let's run through the melody real quick. 1, 2. Oh, I got the right. Let me get the right note. 1, 2. And then the same idea repeats. And then you get a little bit of a different idea here. Let me scroll down. And then we go back to the main idea. Isn't that pretty? It's a really nice melody. The first part, it's AABA format in your songwriting or in your song analysis. So A section, repeat the A section, go to a B section, and then repeat the A section. So very, very classical arrangement there. And so really you only learn 4 measures, which means then you have 8 measures done, and then 9, 10, 11, and 12 are different. You got to memorize, or you got to work on those separate. And then you've already finished 13 to the end because it's the same as the beginning. So yay, a song where you can be playing it almost right off the bat without a ton of work. Okay, so let's play the tough acts. Let's just talk about that. By the way, if you're a singer, grab these chords and just arpeggiate the heck out of this, and you will have a winner right off the bat. People will be like, "What song is it? I've never heard that song before." And they'll be like, "Yeah, I you know, it's from my secret stash of songs." From the top, I'm going to have to scroll, guys, so I'll have to stop every little when I do the page turn. And you guys have been having to do page turns all along. I have eliminated those with my gadget. From the top, 1, 2. Page. Go. Okay. Then repeat it 3 times. That's good music right there, and it's also very beautiful on guitar too, right? Because you're taking advantage of the deep E, A, and D, the chords that are really set up to play guitar well. So, all right, we'll play that again on Friday. We'll play it officially. I'm gonna go down and put in my machine. I don't know why I don't have it there. And hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Harmonica's next, and then ukulele after that. Tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow? Tomorrow we have, I think we have another set of really beautiful songs. So let me find out what that is. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Scroll. Tomorrow we've got The More We Get Together, which is super fun. And then we'll talk about Malagueña and how that piece of sheet music is divided up into pieces and parts so that you're sort of mix and match. It's not designed just to be played straight through like we normally do. And then tomorrow night, of course, we have our Beatles and classical work to do. So tomorrow's a busy day for guitar. And then, of course, Friday's a busy day for you guys because we've got a really beautiful playlist this week. And so hopefully you're having fun messing around with that at your house. Have a wonderful afternoon. That's all I know about guitar. And I'll catch you guys either later today or tomorrow. Remember, you're planning a random act of kindness for somebody, just something silly to make them happy. You are also being very careful. We're in the middle of a pandemic and it's terrible. You are practicing, especially book 3 and above, guys. You really do need to practice. This stuff gets too complicated to not. Keep showing up here. Obviously, I will this accountability level. Maybe you learn something, maybe you don't, but at least this accountability of showing up is what turns you into a fine player. And then finally, if you're logged in and you haven't pushed the up button, please do, and that will help. I don't know what that does, but apparently it helps. So that's it. Have a wonderful day, and I will see all of you later. Who's logging out? Nancy's out of here. Evelyn, thanks for showing us. Yeah, the chord with F chords, think about what you're pushing down, right? Here's what I'm pushing down. Okay, what do I have to push down, right? Well, if you're not going to play this string here, you don't need a full bar. And in fact, then you got these 3, so then you just use it there. Right? If you're not going to play this string, you don't need that finger anymore. Well, you can move that down, get rid of your pinky. Okay? So be thinking about what you really need to play when you're doing an F chord versus what we want you to play, which is a full F chord every single time. So yeah. Thanks, Elizabeth. Good to see you. I'm going to push the end of the stream. Have a great day.